Hi, everybody. It's Julie Drake with Shine with Julie, and I have Thomas Hinton here with me today, and I am super excited. I heard him speak not too long ago. I've known Thomas in a networking setting for a while now, but he is an entrepreneur. He is a sleep coach, and he has been doing some exciting things. He's been a sleep person for a long time in the medical community, but he decided to pair his love of performance with his sleep knowledge to help coach people. And it's phenomenal. I can't wait for him to share some exciting news about who he's been coaching. But his passion is really in, he has his company, Circadian Health, and they help people level up professionally and athletically by looking at promoting and mastering what he calls the essential pillar of health, and that's our sleep. So welcome, Thomas. I'm so excited to have you here with us. And aside from what I've just shared, tell us a little bit about you and how you got to be where you are today.
Thank you very much, Julie. Really glad to be here. I love talking about this stuff. So where I came from in sleep, I've been in sleep medicine now for 13 years. And I think you kind of heard this when I did the thing with oh my gosh, I can't think.
I've decided.
Yeah, I've decided. Thank you. Yeah.
Sure.
So I started off in the sleep lab, doing sleep studies, and I learned a lot, doing that, and just how different stages of sleep affect different functions of the body, and then of course how the transition in those different stages of sleep impact different functions of the body. But I just took that continued education and training, and just kept learning, kept educating myself. Until eventually I started helping people with their sleep hygiene, with routine development and all these different things. Until one day, a gentleman just says, "Hey man, you deliver information really well. You should do this for a living." And I was looking at it like, "Well, I do this for a living." And he was like, "Well, no, like on a business entrepreneur level." And that just scared the crap out of me because I never even thought of anything like that ever. I didn't have that mindset yet, And so I just started doing some research and getting things lined up. And July of, I want to say 2019 is when I got my license.
Okay.
And then January of 2020 is when I really came out saying, "Hey, this is who I am. This is Circadian Health. This is what we do, or what I do." And then March happened and it kind of derailed everything.
Right.
But that second half of 2020 went really well because that's when I picked up my two WNBA girls players and their head coach, who's also the GM.
Good.
Yeah, and then I got my decathlete, Olympic decathlete, and swimmer. So that was really, really cool. Worked with some NBA guys as well and some semi-pro players. So it's good. It's been good.
Now, I love that because you referenced the networking group that we're in, and I've decided. So you basically decided a couple of years ago that this is what you wanted to do. And, you didn't have all the answers. You weren't somebody that has always wanted to be an entrepreneur. You're just figuring out, but that nudge, that, that confirmation when other people are saying you should do this, really took hold. And I love that part of your story. And, to do it right before COVID. And so take me to that time where were you thinking, what the heck did I do? How am I gonna, what did that look like for you? Because you still, I think you still do some work in a sleep clinic too, right? So did that because they stopped doing non-essential medicine, how was that time for you in general?
It was really difficult. And by the way, her name's Kim Martin. So I just want to get that right,
yeah.
so she doesn't kill me. But no, it was a very difficult time because the pulmonologist that I was working with, I ran the sleep medicine part of his practice and did some pulmonary stuff for him as well. But we were private, we were independent, we weren't affiliated with anybody, with a hospital system. So, again, he's a pulmonologist. He was a pulmonologist first. So the majority of our population were Medicare with lung disease. And at the time, that's the population that COVID was impacting the most.
Right.
And so they weren't leaving the house. So they're like, we're not coming in. So when you're not seeing patients, you're not making money.
Right.
And so we ended up having to close practice, and it ended up joining an allergy group in Normal, who we already knew them because we had a satellite office on Tuesdays in their building. So I still do pulmonary and sleep stuff, but just through a different group that's primarily an allergy group. Anyway, to answer your question, further, like it was a difficult time because when I started this business, I mean, obviously, like, I didn't know that COVID was going to happen. I had no clue,
Right.
you know, and so when it did, I had to make the decision. I had to just kind of push through that threshold of maybe I'm not good enough for this. Oh man, I could have just said, "Oh, COVID ruined it. I'm done," and just blamed everything on COVID, and then just not done this. But no, like I just kept connecting, kept reaching out. Peaks and valleys, I always use that terminology. I would peak at certain things, and I would valley at certain things, and I still go through that emotional roller coaster of, okay, maybe I can't do this. I'm not good enough. No one's going to want to do this. No one's going to, I go through that even still, as much as I've done so far, I still kind of go through that. But it's still fun. It's really fun learning. I'm still having fun, learning the mistakes, making certain business mistakes.
Good.
That's still fun for me because like, okay, now I know what not to do next time. So.
Right. Well, 19 years in, I'm going to tell you something that may not shock you, but it doesn't change. You go and you have a different peak and a different valley, but the thing is that I do think over the years they get less dramatic.
Right.
But you start new things, you grow in different ways, and that devil still comes back in and says, "Who do you think you are going there?"
Yeah.
But you have better tools to deal with it at that point. So I'm super glad that you decided to stick with entrepreneurship. And so how do you get your name out there? I mean, you're connected with some pretty high athletes. So did you know somebody who knew them, or how did you make those connections? That's pretty special what you've done from Peoria, Illinois.
Yeah. No, thank you. Yeah. So groundwork. I mean, it was just me. And so I'm on LinkedIn. I'm making connections, reaching out to coaches and performance coaches and strength and conditioning coaches and the athletes themselves, reaching out to them.
Right.
I'm going to their Instagrams. I'm going on their not Facebook, but Twitters and stuff like that. And I'm just following them. Messaging, sending emails. I mean, there was one day I literally was in my office and I sat on LinkedIn and I think I sent connections to like 500 people. Just throughout that day. And out of those 500 people, I got maybe 20 responses, but that's all I needed. And then out of those 20 responses, I got the decathlete and my swimmer. So
it's less than 10% responding to you. And some people would, look at that as, oh my gosh, that's a failed day or that's a failed month or whatever. But I think that you said a mouthful just in a short time of it is you're never going to get anything unless you ask the question. You have to, as an entrepreneur, put yourself out there. And you got ghosted by a lot of people. You probably heard some no's along the way. But you know what? Because you put yourself out there, you risked the rejection. You got some amazing athletes out of it. So tell me what it looks like to work with you. Do you work, I'm guessing virtually, do you work over Zoom, or how is that process for you?
So it's whatever the client wants. I try to be as flexible as possible to make sure they're comfortable. So yes, I do virtual. If they want me to come to I've had clients say, no, just come to my house. We'll do everything here. I've met clients at Starbucks, wherever they want to go to do the consultation. So the consultations are first, and those are always free. And so that's where I'm gathering information. I need to learn more about you. Let's say if you're an athlete, I want to learn who you are as an athlete and as a person. When I learn who you are as a person as well, that's what really helps me determine how far we're going to go with this, whether you're going to be compliant, how compliant you're going to be, if this is going to work. And that's just, training, in healthcare. Just kind of back to the pulmonologist I worked with, he came from Mayo Clinic, and they just think differently up there. And so I got to learn from him. And just learning who your clients or patients are as people will definitely help you. It'll teach you how to better treat them and how you're going to move about treating them. So long story short, I do the consultation. I'm listening to the things you are doing, but I'm also listening to what you're not doing. And then I take all the information and I customize and I tailor a plan specifically to you based on you. It's not a one size fits all thing. We do the consultation, they say, oh, okay, well, what's the programs look like? So I send them a list of like a program price sheet. They choose, whichever one they want. Usually, it depends on how long you want me around.
Right.
And then they let me know which one they want. I send them an invoice, they pay, and then we do a plan overview. And then we start.
Okay. Is there a common problem that you see people having, or is it like truly everybody's unique and different? There are no commonalities.
It's both. It's
Okay.
actually both, so, I'll see clients, or in the clinic, we'll see patients. And really what it comes down to, once you, again, learn who they are as people and what their schedule is, it's time management. And or prioritizing yourself. I tell my clients all the time, like, you have to learn how to prioritize you. Like you're going 50 million different ways and stretching yourself thin, that you don't leave time for recovery and sleep, and not just for athletes, but just for, like you said, professionals as well. Or what I say non-athletes. You still have to prioritize your sleep and your own personal recovery. So I see a lot of that, I have to get this done. I got to do this. I got to do that. And they keep, stacking and tacking on different things, in their day and their schedule. And, I'll just sleep later, and that you can't do that, because that ends up hurting you in the end.
Is there an ideal amount of sleep that an adult should be getting? I want your opinion on that one.
Yeah. So like the run of the mill, like the textbook is 8 to 9 hours. But that's unrealistic for a lot of people. And you have to learn that, so I learned that through my time in the field. Some people can get 6 hours and they'll be fine. But you have to, it's weird because, like, you have to teach your body, how to, or condition your body, in your environment on getting a good night's rest. So, I've dealt with clients who have, I'm good on 5 hours. That's all I need. But then when I explain to them, like, what 5 hours is doing in their body, or like I guess the other sleep that they're not getting, what that's doing to their body. Like, I had no idea. And so it's trying to help them get on a program that's going to help them maximize their sleep. And then some people, that's what they need. And then some people, in the end, we go through this program, and all they can do is 5 hours. And so I work around that 5 hour mark, and just help them maximize that 5 hours. So.
Now, one of the things that I'm always on, like, my kids about is the technology. They have technology around them all the time. And I'm like, no, it has to go, no technology before you go to bed.
Yeah.
I'm assuming, and maybe incorrectly, that that's part of, how you work with everybody. I've read so much about that. Is that a big thing for you?
Oh yeah, that's huge. So every client has a 30-minute wind down period in their programs. And in that 30 minutes, you find something to do outside, without, phones, tablets, computers, TV, you find something to do within that 30 minutes that's relaxing, to make the transition into relaxation and sleep easier. Because what happens is, especially like with these teenagers, they're on these, all the social media, like, in the sleep environment. And so what happens is that their brain and their body starts associating that environment with wakefulness and excitement. So then when they enter that, it's a subconscious trigger. So then when they enter that environment, the brain's like, oh, this is where we watched that cat video that was so funny, or somebody falling down a flight of steps or whatever it is. And so it prepares itself, for that. And that's not the environment to be awake and to be excited. And so I do these things where we work on removing certain things out of that environment and replacing them with things that are conducive to relaxation and sleep.
Interesting that you say that. Going back to what you said about the teenagers, it makes me think, would you recommend for those teens, I have some, that, even at nighttime period, they're not in their bed on their phone. Maybe they're on the floor in another part of the house, because, the bed is the sleep part of where your brain, picks that relaxation moment. Is that important too, even before the 30-minute window?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Because some people I've worked with, parents, and, their kids are going 100 miles an hour, and they're like, okay, bedtime, and you can't do that. Like, you can't, it just doesn't work. They're so wound up. So you have, even for adults, and, like, you have to allow, your body requires that, downtime. Now, some people can be doing a bunch of stuff and then be out. Everybody's
Right.
different.
Yeah.
That's part of learning who they are,
Mhm.
as not just a client, but as a person as well. So then that's how I customize the programs, is based off strictly who you are and what you're doing, because it's going to be different every time.
Now, I have a question about the non-electronics, and something going through my head that I do is I read, but I read via the Kindle app.
Hmm.
And so I turn the brightness way down and I
Okay.
don't do anything else on my phone, but I'm thinking, hmm, you know, what do you, are you like a hard liner on that, or it just depends? If somebody's having trouble, and I don't have trouble falling asleep. I usually fall asleep when I'm reading. Um, but I was just curious about that as I was thinking about what you were saying.
Yeah. So no, I have clients that use that. So one of the things that one of the things that I do is that I pay attention to what works for the client as well.
Mhm.
So I have a lot of clients that use the Kindle, but they turn the light down and they read.
Right.
That's relaxing, right?
Okay.
So it'd be different if you were on the Kindle doing work, or
Yeah.
if you're on the Kindle again looking at, like, TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and
Right.
all that kind of crazy stuff. So yeah, so when that light's dim and you're just relaxing
Mhm.
and you're reading, that's
Right.
perfect. That's perfectly fine with
Okay.
me. Yeah,
Okay. Thank you for
yeah,
validation. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in trouble.
yeah. Well, if you don't mind, real quick, I'll say this. So a lot of research has been going into this because of what's called blue light. And
Yeah.
so there's some research that came out that showed that it's not so much blue light that like turns off that melatonin faucet in your brain.
Mhm.
What it is, it's just the activity of what you're
Okay.
doing. The activity
Interesting.
of being excited and being awake
Right.
is what's causing you to now the
Mhm.
light does play a factor, but it's not like, oh, like the blue light is specifically
Right.
impacting the production or release of melatonin. It's just the
Okay.
activity. When you're
Yeah.
active, melatonin, it's not gonna be on. So
Interesting.
yep.
So it's more the action and what your brain's equating with that moment in time
Yes.
rather than the interest. Okay, that's helpful to understand that, because I was wondering that when you were saying that, it's like I am holding my device,
Yeah.
it's not the same brightness or it's not the same way, like you said, that I use it at other times in the day. So, I guess to my brain, it's like, oh, this is the chill time I'm using this device,
Yeah.
kind of trained it that way. Um, so one of the things that I'm curious, because, sleep is also affected by that, that running tape in your head, what you were talking about, even in the beginning, some of those challenges that you had with, your self-doubt or limiting beliefs. And, sometimes I even notice, and, it's like your head hits the pillow and it's like you're thinking of everything you didn't get done, think of everything you have to do, think about all the things that went wrong, and then you add in all the negative parts of the world right now. How do you, as a sleep coach, handle that and train your clients through that mind, the mind part of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm actually doing some classes right now for what's called CBTI, which is cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of it I kind of already know anyway. But one of the things is helping my clients understand what you can control, what you can't control.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I've prided myself on. I've been very good at. Is that if I can't, if I know that anything that I do can either change it or alter what has happened so far, within that day, it's just like, okay, you got to let that go,
Right.
because there's nothing that you can do about it. And
Sure.
so teaching my clients like, hey, okay, well, this happened. Okay, well, what could you have done about it? Oh, well,
Mm-hmm.
nothing. Okay, well then why are we still kind of letting it affect us? Like, you have to let that go. I'm not saying you can't be upset. No, be upset. That's perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
But don't let it take you over so much to where you
Right.
you can't you can't function with your family, or you can't function with yourself, or
Mm-hmm.
through in your household, or whatever you're doing. Especially when it comes to going to sleep, then you're laying there, like you said, like it's just like a rotating door of thoughts of, oh man, I could have done that, could have done that, and really you couldn't. So it's just teaching them just to let those things go. Get some rest, wake up the next day, and then you figure out how you're going to conquer it, or how you're
Mm-hmm.
going to take it on. If that's even an option. So
Do you, I mean, I'm guessing this is based on the client, but do you get into things like journaling or, like free form, letting everything, you said, let it go, what you can't control. Is that something that you incorporate into your work at all? I was just curious.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I have my clients keep sleep journals, but I'll also have them write things down. And this is all if they want to do this. If
Yeah,
some say, oh, I don't need to do that. Okay, fine.
right.
But if they want to, like, write those thoughts down.
Mhm.
Write them down, take them from here and put them here.
Yeah.
And then read it.
Mhm.
Like take a look at it and read it, and then be done with it.
Yeah.
Because again, like there with certain situations, like there's nothing that can be
Mhm.
done with it now. So
Right.
there's no sense in worrying about it at 10 o'clock at night, because you can't go out and fix it now. you know
Sure.
so just table it, and then revisit it the next day.
Yeah. I love that. Outside of work, I'd love to know something that you are super proud of that you've accomplished in your life recently or just, any time in adulthood.
Oh yeah. Helping, I guess we said outside of work.
Yeah.
um Everything kind of revolves around that, but I will say, I did a presentation for a group of swimmers on Wednesday, swim club, and
Hmm.
the head coach Derek Ammerman of Peoria Notre Dame swim team, he tagged me in a post that he put on there afterwards, saying thank you and stuff like that, and there was a guy out there that was like, oh yeah, like this, Thomas came and talked to talk to my gym, and his talk made me want to go and get tested for sleep apnea, and I got diagnosed and treated.
Awesome.
So just kind of recently, that really felt good to me, that something that I did
Hmm.
caused someone to go and get themselves evaluated and assessed and
Right.
then treated. Because that's one thing I love, seeing the difference that I make in people's lives and stuff like that. So just to know my talk reached someone to that on that level to go and get tested and treated, like that was awesome.
I know that's a hard question. I'm a
Yeah.
lot the same way because so much of your work is your passion, is your life mission.
Yeah.
So it kind of all interweaves together. I have really enjoyed our time. Now, you had spotlighted two Olympians
Yes.
that you have worked with, and one of them you said was a decathlete.
Yeah, Devin Williams. Yeah, he is a
Okay.
decathlete for USA Track and Field. And so we're back to the drawing board. He decided to
Mhm.
bring me back for
Yeah,
leading
I
up
saw
to.
that post. That was awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So that was awesome. So the Olympic qualifiers didn't end like we wanted it to. He ended up suffering an injury.
Oh,
But he went in number 4. In the world. So that was really cool. But then another one was Remedy Rule. She was a swimmer, and so
yeah,
she made it in the semifinals of the 200 fly, and so that
that's
was really
wonderful.
cool. So she's an Olympian. Of course,
Mhm.
she wanted to medal and get on the podium.
Yeah,
But in the end, no one can take that away from her. She's an
no.
Olympian, and it's very hard. There's a small percentage of athletes that can do that, and it's
Mhm.
hard to get there. It's hard.
Yes,
Not only do you have to prove that you're the best in your country, but now you have to prove that you're better than everybody's
right.
swimmers from their country.
Yeah.
So to do that's a big feat. So hats off to her.
That's awesome. And I saw both of those posts. And I love what your decathlete said. He really is learning from you how to slow down to get better.
Yeah.
And as a power athlete like that, that's got to be like a push and pull. It's like, I have to do what?
Yeah.
But I just love that. I want to make sure before we wrap up today that people know exactly where to find you. So you have your business website, circadianhealth.org,
Yep.
and you are also on Instagram at the Sleep Coach, which
Yes.
I love. So everybody be sure to follow Thomas. You will get just a wealth of knowledge, and who knows, you might be somebody that is that entrepreneur, that athlete, that performer that wants to level up, and sleep could be the answer that you've been looking for. So I know I have learned a lot just in these 2 little talks I've experienced from you in the last few weeks. So I just thank you so much for your time today. And I say kudos to you for getting out there, just making it happen, deciding that that's what you are going to do. And any way that we can support you, we definitely will.
Yeah, thank you very much, Julie, for having me. Very passionate about this stuff. Love talking about it. And yeah, reach out to me. Love to help.
Great. And for all of you audience members, I just want to remind you, if you have that nudge like we had at various times in our life, don't ignore it. If you need somebody to believe in you, borrow my belief for right now, because I believe that you are meant to shine. Have a great day and tell me what you go out and do. I'd love to hear. Bye.